My name is Christina Buch-Peterson. I'm the head of consumer product for DriveTribe. DriveTribe is the digital social media platform from the guys behind Grand Tour and Ernesto Smith, and we're based in London. I think there's two areas really there. I think primarily just get stuck in. Don't wait for anyone really to tell you what to do or how to do it, and also kind of be brave in your decisions. You're there to learn together. You know, every company will have their own flavour of processes and methodologies. And I think secondly, very much from a product management perspective, be prepared to really carve out your own role. You are going to have some very passionate, very dedicated and talented co-founders and senior members who are very keen on how to do product. So it's very important that you can wrestle that off them as well and be mindful of their nervousness around that. I think are my two kind of key things to go into a smaller company. I think the way I viewed it in the past has to try and think of yourself as an entrepreneur. You are there to sell in a way of working, a proposition into a business that might be kind of adverse to that way of working, might be dubious about what value it's going to give them. So it's really important that you can understand what challenges the person you're talking to are having at the moment. How can you take people with you? And therefore, you know, what are the larger benefits it's going to give the company? That could be everything from better customer insight to operational efficiencies. But again, just be really mindful for me that everyone is quite adverse to change. So you have to be quite sympathetic and empathetic in that situation. When I prioritise, it's first of all, what type of change is it? What impact will the change have on the end user? And also what would happen if we don't do the change. So that could be if you're talking about a legal requirement, again, an operational, or maybe just a straight up kind of digital change. So how many people are affected? And also, quite importantly, who are they affecting? For me, product management is about growing metrics. So, you know, you want to get the most bang for your buck, really. But also, if the cost benefit doesn't stack up, you know, are there other ways of delivering the same output? But really for me, it's about who and how many users will this change affect, and also how does that then align with your business objectives and kind of strategic goals for the organisation. When I look at KPIs, it's important to understand what is my role in relation to that KPI, so what can I actually change? So in a traditional sort of e-commerce background or e-commerce environments, it's, you know, I probably can't change the actual physical product I'm selling, nor the price, but something I do have control over is obviously the digital experience that the customer is having. So you can take quite a traditional sort of funnel view on your data and see where it's leaking. And if you're looking at e-commerce, an obvious place is in your checkout funnel. So what's your conversion rate looking there? And often you can see, you know, what's the area of opportunities, and therefore you can plan sort of your plan of attack based on that. Two things, I guess. One is it can be used to highlight very specific problems that users are having. So you can use it to, you know, in a diagnostic way in terms of if they're having problems checking out or having problems in specific, you know, I don't know, browsers or whatever it might be. So in that way, I think it's very important to have that dialogue. But from a more, where should my product strategy go? it should be more used to trying and understanding the problems behind what the users are actually saying. Users are very keen on giving you quite specific solutions often, and I think that works well sometimes, but more often than not, you go down of the very sort of well-quoted Ford quote of giving them a faster horse. So it's more about actually trying to understand what's the problems behind what your users are saying. So for me, it's not about taking everything literally. I think it's two, actually. I can't limit myself to one. Very early in my career, I was working for sort of a late stage startup, and again, coming back to a lot of people having a lot of good views on what the product should be, and I had some very challenging stakeholders, shall I say, and I think I had a particularly bad day, and one of my senior colleagues told me to just roll with the punches. And that's kind of stuck with me, because it's really about trying not to take everything so seriously. It's not personal, and it's actually, for me, just quite good if people are very dedicated and invested in what you're trying to do. So I try to remind myself that quite often, to roll with the punches. And secondly, it's kind of a newer thing, and again, it's coming back to, for me, that product is problem solving and growing matrices, and it's really to maybe fall in love with the mission and not the product. I think product is such, because it's very visual, it can become very opinion-led, it's very emotion-led, and again, I think sometimes it's more important to think about the mission you're trying to solve. Pros and cons. So my own motivation for contracting was that I really wanted to go out there and measure myself against my peers. I was very keen to learn from peers across industries. It was a way of getting to groups with different technologies, different ways of working in a faster way than you can if you're permanent. And I learned a lot from that. I had quite a lot of pivotal moments in my career. And I think for me that was really, really what I enjoyed about it. I think in terms of the kind of cons, again, for me personally, I really long to be a lot more strategically involved with the product and be able to influence, a more long-term plan. And contract doesn't really lend itself to that. You're in there to do a job and then you tend to move on. So I think that for me was the two things that were key. How I see or how I hope it will change are maybe two different things. I do think that we're going to see a lot more product leaders in more senior roles across businesses, across industries, that have maybe typically been held more by either technology or marketing leaders. I also hope that there will be, a wider recognition of product management as a skill. Also that we are quite scientifically led and not opinion led and emotionally led. And I think that the trend I'm seeing at the moment is that is starting to be recognised across a lot more industries than we perhaps think. So I'm hoping that will continue. Looking to go into contracting, I think, again, for me, think about what problems you want to solve when you wake up in the morning. And therefore, I think if you do choose to go contracting, be quite prepared to stay very focused on what you're trying to achieve, both for the company you're working with and also for yourself. Again, often they're short term, so you're there to perform quite specific tasks. And I think it's key to stay quite focused on that and deliver those things. Would be my main advice.